Congrats, my friend. The fact that you have reached day 11 means that you have officially completed 3/4 of the 14-day challenge. The fact that you're still engaged tells me that you're serious about your growth and that you're truly seeking breakthrough and transformation in your life. You're the man that I want to work with. You're the man that I created this for. So thank you for leaning in and making the most of this. Now, let's dive into today's training and challenge because it's a big one. Today's training is going to be the longest that we have done so far. Today, we're going to train in the area of how we respond to the negative events and triggers in our life through response focus. So let's go. I'll never forget the time that my wife and I went to a marriage retreat through our church. I absolutely did not want to go to this thing, but we weren't doing very well, so I decided that it was probably a good thing if I went. About an hour into the event, the lead speaker had all the men in the room stand up, and he said, "All right, by show of hands, how many of you men have a pet peeve that sets you off toward your wife?" The question got a nice little laugh when 100% of the hands went up. But then he asked, well, does it go a little something like this? She leaves toothpaste in the sink, or she leaves parts of her clothes hanging out of the drawers, or she doesn't replace the toilet paper roll when it's nearly empty, or maybe she moves your stuff when you leave it on the counter, and then when you go looking for it, you can't find it because she moved it and didn't tell you where she put it. Or maybe other little things like this. By this point, this dude had the whole room laughing because 100% of the hands went up again. But then he started diving a little deeper. He asked, how many of you typically get angry and you feel it's your duty to set her straight, to tell her how you really feel because you're a guy that just keeps it real and then you're going to tell her the truth? And again, almost every hand went up in the room. But then he said something that changed my entire perspective. He said, you know, men, the problem is not your wife. It's you. Many of you would rather be right than in love. I'll say that again. Many of you would rather be right than in love. So then he continued. He said, you have such a fixed way of looking at things that when it comes to the triggers in your life, you are undisciplined and respond in impulse. You mean to tell me that you can't just wipe the toothpaste up yourself? Push the drawer in yourself? Replace the toilet paper yourself? Or put your own stuff away yourself? This guy wrecked me. He just read my book and then he verbally punched me in the face. The fact is, events happen every day that trigger us. We can't always control the events of our life, and we can't always control the outcomes, but we can always control our responses. When I learned how to respond to life's events from a reflective, disciplined, and growth mindset, every area of my life began to change for the better. I stopped playing the victim, and I was able to take ownership over the things that were keeping me stuck. And then in 2006, Jack Canfield, he's a best-selling author known for the Chicken Soup for the Soul series. He introduced the world to a little equation that he outlined in his popular book called The Success Principles. And the equation is E plus R equals O. Events plus response equal outcomes. Jack explains that when there are events or triggers and stimulus that occur in our life, we respond leading to a particular outcome. What most people do when they don't get the outcome they want, they tend to blame the event, whether it be the person or a circumstance, the boss, the government. However, the reality is, the only thing that is going to produce a better outcome or more of what you want in life is being disciplined with owning your response. So after being exposed to Canfield's equation, I began the regular discipline of what I call response-focused journaling. The E plus R equals O formula is a quick reminder that helps establish a reflective and a disciplined filtering system by which you can train your default operating system to always be moving away from fixed mindsets to always moving toward growth mindsets. A man that has most influenced my acceptance that this is not just a neat idea, but that human beings actually do have an overwhelming capacity to adapt to any circumstance and conquer the most difficult events in their lives is Viktor Frankl. Viktor Frankl was a 20th century neurologist, psychiatrist, and he was a Holocaust survivor. And in his book, Man's Search for Meaning, he shares his story of living in the worst concentration camps, Auschwitz and Dachau. He was there for a little over 3 years, and he journals what his experience taught him about how to find meaning in every circumstance and how our intentional responses to life are what really affect our overall quality of living. He exemplified the power of response focus. He once said that, between stimulus and response, there's this space. And in that space is our power to choose our response. And in our response lies our growth and our freedom. And this is coming from a man that almost every day for 3 years did not know if he was going to be sent to a gas chamber to die or if he was going to be allowed to work one more day and live. He decided that the only thing that he could control was how he would respond to each day's events. He learned that the power of predetermining when triggered, he would push pause, he would take ownership over the story that was playing out in his mind, and then he would make the necessary change required to have the most impact on the outcome that he desired. And this little 3-step formula has changed how my entire family handles negative triggers. So I'm going to close with this last story. Not too long ago, I was cooking some eggs for breakfast, and my youngest son was actually sitting behind me. He was at the table eating a bowl of cereal. And my wife walked in and she said, "Luke, I need you to drop this bag off at the front desk at school." And in his 15-year-old huffy puffy and angry teenager attitude, he raised his voice with his mom and he said, "Which desk are you talking about? There's more than one desk." And he was all bent out of shape. And I turned around and I said, "Whoa, dude, E plus R equals O." That response was absolutely not okay. And now there's tension sitting right here in the kitchen. That's not the energy that anyone wants right now. So we're going to push pause. Mom's going to go upstairs and she's going to finish what she was doing. And when she comes back down, you're going to give her a better response that will deliver an outcome that works for everyone. Do we have an agreement? And he took complete ownership and he agreed. About 10 minutes later, my wife came down and she came down with the bag and Luke said, "Mom, I apologize for my response earlier. There are actually 2 desks, the one by the U and the one near the dean's office. Which desk should I take it to?" And my wife then said, "Well, it's the one near the dean's office. Thank you for making the right change in your attitude." And we all acknowledged the better response and the change in energy, and that developing the skill of pushing pause is extremely powerful. If your playbook is to be comprehensive, it should also drive you to have a game plan for properly responding to life's events and triggers. So today's challenge is below. Make sure that you answer the questions and download the response-focused journaling guide. Man, I pray that this one single skill set be an enormous breakthrough for you. So dive in, and I will see you back here tomorrow. Godspeed, my friend.